This is Matt Hurd at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly-ish movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, or shitty adaptation of a beloved book series, each episode. You can find back episodes at OV217.com, find the blog at ObsessiveViewer.com, and you can like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. Also, check out SHOCKTOBER and IRVINGTON.com for our one-night event screening of short horror films that is going to be October 6th, 2017 at the Irving Theater at 8 p.m. here in Indianapolis. For that, tickets are now on sale at SHOCKTOBER and IRVINGTON.com. You can get early bird prices right now. Prices will increase by a couple bucks here in the coming weeks. On September 4th is the last chance to get it. You will know when it's the last weekend because right before that weekend, I have a post going up on the Facebook page that says, not to belabor the point, but this Labor Day weekend is your last chance to get early bird pricing for Shocktober and Irvington. So check that out at ShockToberandIrvington.com. And also, episode sponsor for this week is Horror Movie Yearbook. It's a movie review podcast about horror movies where they take a few movies from a specific year and can compare and contrast them against the pop culture and current events of that year. You can find them at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at HorrorMovieYearbook.com. And Tony, is she going to let you wub to Bailey? I don't think she is. No,
she's going to let me try. She's going to pull me in with the
I know.
And then,
She's such a tease. Anyway, our guest today is Mr. Tony Troxell from Geeking in Indiana. How's it going, bud?
hello. I'm playing with your cat.
You are. She's being very playful. It's nice. I think she's just surprised because there are other people here, and I think it's been like a cabin fever kind of thing because I've been here all the time since I started working from home. Yeah. And Tiny,
Yes,
hi.
sir.
I didn't say hi to you earlier. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
It's okay. We're, I'm
Being shoved
annoyed.
out by the new hotness.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm not a cat,
right.
and I'm not a cool podcaster.
No, you're a cool podcaster. I'm a
Blogger.
cool blogger with a podcast.
Yeah, it's
Huge
true.
difference.
Not
You're getting there.
multi-talented.
You're a podcaster. You just have to believe it. Oh, he tried to wub to Bailey. And yeah, she's not going to let you. And
Aw.
her claws are very long, so you might get...
The claws are long and the teeth are sharp.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. But she's so pretty, though. Anyway, we're talking about my cat. And anyway... So this week's episode is should we say special episode? Because I don't know if it's special.
No.
It's special in terms of like a short school bus level of special.
You might say a 95 minutes short, 95 minute long school bus. I'm steering into it. I'm embracing it. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, but this is kind of special because it is episode 217 of The Obsessive Viewer, which, of course, if you're fans of Stephen King and the book The Shining, the hotel room in The Shining is 217, and 2 plus 17 equals 19, which is a number that has mystical properties in the Dark Tower universe. You wouldn't know that from the movie at all. Even though they had really clear Easter eggs, but it was like hitting you over the head. Anyway, we'll get into that in a bit. But this week we are finally reviewing the number one movie in America, The Dark Tower, and the laughter hurts so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're reviewing The Dark Tower. I do have one little piece of news to go over if you guys want to talk about news. But first, Tony, I want you to basically give your spiel, tell us about Geeking in Indiana, and everything. You gave me a very interesting origin story before Tiny got here about Geeking in SoCal, which I have to admit does not sound as good as Geeking in Indiana.
No, it really doesn't. And we're not going to go into that because that's in the past.
Right.
You can find it maybe on the internet Wayback Machine if you really look. But yeah, it wasn't that great. But Geeking in Indiana is a blog that started in May of 2010, and it showcases items of interest to geeks in the Hoosier State. Currently, we are doing a major focus on Gen Con 50, which is at the time of this recording next weekend, the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th of August. And I'm doing a lot of focus on that, but I do shop reviews for comic, game, toy, hobby shops. I do information on upcoming events, such as Shocktober in Irvington.
Yes.
Which is why I've had you on the show before, and I have been here before, and any of your longtime listeners know who I am. Mainly because while I'm also an active patron,
you are, and thank you so much.
As recently, not long time, but I am now an active patron. But I'm not going to say anything about why do you never give me a call out, because you always say my name sometime during an episode anyway.
Right. And I am really, really bad about doing shout-outs for Patreon subscribers, which is terrible because they give us money. But anyway.
But news.
Yes. But where can we find you on the internets?
Oh, you can find me anywhere that you can Google Geeking in Indiana. You can find me at geekinginindiana.com. You can find me on the tweeters at Indiana Geeking. You can find me on Facebook at Geeking in Indiana.
Nice.
Yeah, you can pretty much just find me, except Tumblr. That is a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. I have a Tumblr account that I just basically it's a place that I just throw the posts.
Nope, stop doing that. Just delete it.
Really?
Nope, It's gone.
Jeez. But anyway, that's great, and yeah, thank you for joining us, and thank you for patronizing us. Yeah.
As bad as it sounds, yes.
Is that the proper use of?
I don't know.
I think it's patroning.
Patroning. Thank you for your patronage.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Patronage. That's good. Words are hard.
Yeah. Thank you guys for patronizing me.
That's why I work in written word as opposed to spoken word.
Yeah.
It's because I can look at a sentence for 20 minutes and go, that doesn't look right, Google.
Right.
Thanks for listening to the obsessive grammar Nazi.
Oh God. So anyway, news. We have news, guys, and this news ties directly into our review this week, and how, like, I can't speak for Tiny, but my dream has been shattered.
Yeah.
But today is Monday. We're recording on Tuesday, and on Monday they released the Monday totals for the box office. I mean, it's a very small margin of how much was made on Monday, but the Monday after its weekend of release, the Emoji Movie made more money than The Dark Tower. That happened. That's a thing, and that's depressing. But
well, if Dark Tower had Patrick Stewart voicing the poop icon, then
he would have been voicing every character in the movie. Whoa! I just burned The Dark Tower, and I hate that.
Damn.
I'm so sorry. That's not even accurate. We'll get into our review. Okay, we have been talking for months and months. Dare I say a year and a half, about the impending Dark Tower movie here on the podcast. We have had basically every episode leading up to the release. We've said something about it at some point, and yeah, this is very special that this is the 217th episode, and it's 2 + 17 = 19, and 217 has such a significant role in Stephen King lore and everything, and I don't know how I'm going to edit this episode together because Tiny and I recorded an hour and a half long discussion of our expectations for the movie, our excitement for the movie, and what we wanted out of the movie. So, and then tomorrow, Fecus is coming over, and we're doing a one-on-one. He and I are doing a one-on-one kind of review of the movie. So it's going to be fun to edit, but to get to the point, before we get to the actual review of the movie, just want to reiterate real quick. Tiny Tiny and I have been fans of The Dark Tower for nearly a decade at this point. And we read it together. I spent 13 months reading it for the first time. And just every second of it was just an amazing journey for me, and I loved it. And ever since I finished that 7th book back in 2011. Wow. In 2011, July of 2011, I have thought pretty consistently about The Dark Tower pretty much ever since. And just finished rereading it for the second time, and it's just that fire is not going away. And Tiny, your relationship to The Dark Tower, you love it? And
Pretty much the same, yeah. We read it around the same time, and I think it took me about a year as well to read it. Threw myself into the comics and loved those. Still love those. Need to catch up on those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I tell people when they ask me why I like it, I said I think about it almost every day. I think about The Dark Tower almost every day.
Yep.
Because that's how pervasive it is for me.
Absolutely.
That's how much I enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's an incredible series, an incredible characters, an incredible everything. It's an incredible saga with a great, deep mythology that's really interesting and intricate and great. So now the movie comes out, and Tony, you had no really. How did you go into the movie?
Honestly, I read the first 2 books back in the late 80s, early 90s when I was in middle school on a huge Stephen King kick. So they hadn't really started developing. I mean, heck, the series wasn't even finished at that point. And, at that point, like, Eye of the Dragon was more interesting to me than those were. Please don't lynch me.
No, that's fine. Eyes of the Dragon actually does tie into The Dark Tower,
which I did read in the trivia. I had to stop reading the trivia on IMDb because it's more trivia on the books than it is the frackin' film.
Yeah.
But because, and we'll get into it more, but I am planning on reading them after watching the movie. We'll get into this. This will be part of the discussion later.
Perfect.
But I went into, I've heard you guys talk about it on the podcast. You especially started going heavy when they finally released a trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when you really start going heavy on it with the firing out that episode, giving the trailer breakdown and all that. Think you're like YouTube personalities or something. But, yeah, but that's pretty much all I knew about the film. I knew Idris Elba's awesome. Matthew McConaughey, he's solid. Sure. And I knew absolutely nothing else about the film.
Nice. Did our excitement for it? I think you mentioned to me that our excitement for it kind of bled over into you, so that you were excited for it.
It was not on my radar. I wouldn't say I was completely excited for it, but you guys talking about it was what got me to not worry or not wait to see what you thought about it, or wait to see it on a DVD or when a friend puts it up on his Plex server or something like that. That's what caused me to actually go out and see it in the theater.
Cool. Nice.
So you owe me $11.99.
That was.
You're lucky. I'm not going to charge it for the $5 coupon used from AMC. I'll just write that off.
Sure.
Those have no actual cash value.
Right. God. So that's our kind of expectations going into it. We'll go into our review here in just a moment, but I just want to say first of all that for longtime listeners, you guys will know that up until episode, I think. When was that episode? Probably episode around 200. I had bleeped every swearing and every cursing and everything on it, and then finally I was just lazy. I was just like, okay, screw it. I'm just not going to worry about it. We're going to go explicit. I'm so happy that I decided to do that, because this episode is going to have a lot.
And yet you just completely dropped the ball and then at that point we just decided to say fuck it, and
because I'm saving all of my expletives to really lay into this movie.
Did you just jump on the back of my chair?
I certainly did, Tony. I certainly did.
Don't jump on the TV.
Kitty.
Pizza. She will jump on the TV, and then I'll probably say, in a very creepy voice, I'll say, "Oh look, Dad, I'm on TV."
Oh,
You
boy.
don't like that, do you?
Anyway, the plot description of IMDb of the Dark Tower is the last gunslinger Roland Deschain has been locked in an eternal battle with Walter O'Dim, also known as the Man in Black, determined to prevent him from toppling the tower, which holds the universe together. With the fate of the world at stake, good and evil will collide in the ultimate battle as only Roland can defend the tower from the Man in Black. And also, Roland Deschain is a complete one-dimensional caricature of the complex and amazing character that he is in the books, and the movie is a jarring mess. That is the plot description on IMDb.
I was going to say, defending the tower sounds like a complete falsehood when you're reading that.
Yeah,
But once again, we'll get
into that. Yeah. So of course, this movie we were very cautiously optimistic about it.
Yeah.
From the moment that they announced the casting of Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, I was floored. I thought this is perfect. Idris Elba is amazing. He has that presence that can really bring to life this very intricate and nuanced character from Stephen King's work. And Matthew McConaughey is incredible, and he could easily play like a very dark and brooding and mysterious character. But as the release date approached and got postponed and approached and got postponed, there were these telltale signs that I defended and we defended so much on the podcast: the 95-minute runtime, the extremely late trailer that came out, the moving the release date up to the summer, so that or back to the summer, so they can do special effects work, and not having anything at Comic-Con and not having anything anywhere, and having a bunch or not hosting a press screening until the night before the release of the movie. Like, all of this stuff is like, okay, but at least it's being made by people who love the series, and there will at least be something that I love about it, and it will at least resonate with me as a fan of the books, and resonate with Tiny as well, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, not to put words in his mouth, but yeah. So then the reviews started coming out, and the Rotten Tomatoes score was really, really bleak, and everything that was coming out about it was just that it was overwhelmingly negative. And then, for better or worse, Tiny and I saw it on Friday. And we wore two of our Dark Tower shirts. Well, we each wore one of our Dark Tower shirts. Mine was a shirt of the quartet that says "Other Worlds Than These." And Tiny's, what was yours?
Said the same thing. Go then there are
Nice.
other worlds than these.
Yes. Tagline of the movie doesn't appear in the movie, but that's fine.
Nope.
And then Tony, you and I had the Obsessive Viewer quartet group screening. Quartet being a group of people bound together by fate or Ka in the Dark Tower universe.
Something else you wouldn't know from watching
Something
the movie.
that you would know. And no,
Yeah.
and that's fine, because the concept of Ka is only like the most important thing. Like, it's this ephemeral like entity or this
like the
this
Force.
feeling.
I was going to say, it's like
the
they
Force,
did a
it's like
Star
fate.
Wars movie without
Yeah.
referring to the Force.
Exactly. Yeah. But hey, that's fine. They wanted to make it accessible for audiences.
Yeah.
Anyway, seething with anger. Like, this is going to be a fun episode.
And I'm just over here poking.
Yeah. But so we had that event screening that was, the two of us, which was nice, in the Dolby Theater. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and about the experience of seeing it in Dolby? And I'll talk to my experience too.
Well, I know we talked about this. This is the same theater that when we were discussing Rogue One, where I saw Rogue One. It was, for what it was a, very comfortable seating, very dark theater, very good company. Okay, in all seriousness, very comfortable, very sharp picture.
Yes.
It was nowhere near as dark as some of the other films that I've seen, which was very surprising, because this isn't a bag on the movie that
Right.
for once. I was kind of expecting the Dark Tower to be a bit darker, and I know, like, Star Wars has been a little difficult to see sometimes, and Spider-Man Homecoming was a little difficult to see at times, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, all those are films I saw in that theater.
Did you see them in 3D or 2D?
Oh, I don't watch 3D.
Right. Yeah. Great.
No, I
And,
think that Atmos Theater only only does 2D films.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
I think.
Yeah.
Their 3D theater is completely separate.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, I
the 3D,
think that is made for the essentially 4K version of
Right.
movies
And-
with the awesome sound and all
yeah.
that. So
in 3D does tint the film a little bit, so it
Yeah.
is darker anyway when you watch in 3D. So that's why I assume that is.
the most recent 3D film I've seen in the theaters is Tron Legacy.
Oh wow,
A
wow,
couple years ago.
Yeah, a few.
Couple.
few, yeah.
Few. But yeah, so I'm just not a fan of them. Oh no,
Same here.
I'm sorry, Star Trek Into Darkness. Not
okay.
much more recent, but still a little bit more recent.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I mean the theater experience was great.
Oh, absolutely.
And well, we'll go into my opinion of the films when we get around
Right.
to that. And I know that's part of why I wanted to do when I approached you about the event for Facebook, as a joke, why haven't you done a Facebook event? That's why I said, let's do it at that theater. It's a little bit pricier, but this is the movie you were really looking forward to.
Right.
Let's have it done at the theater with a really sharp screen and the really good sound.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And yeah, and I really liked the theater experience of it too. I noticed that it is it's the theater itself is darker than other theater. In other theaters you have they have emergency lights and stuff and little lights that are still on during the movie, but it was almost pitch black.
Yeah.
And the seats were a little bit above the already fairly comfortable reclining seats that are in the theaters, and then the sound and picture quality is amazing. So I definitely recommend seeing a movie in the Dolby Cinema. And Tiny, let's talk about our theater experience, because we saw it together Friday. It was the culmination of our friendship, I would say.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
It is. You would say it's more important than your wedding in October. I get that.
Pretty much. Yeah. I almost asked for the
Paige
ring
doesn't
back.
listen to this,
Nice.
does she?
Yeah. I almost asked for the ring back.
No, she doesn't. But anyway, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So talk to how did you feel about the theater experience going in? We had a very awkward moment that was because of me outside the theater because we took a selfie.
We did.
Remember that? Yeah.
We did. I'm not a selfie person. I almost never take them. And so yeah, it was awkward. It was very Matt hurt.
Yeah, I when we were in the middle of it, I was so excited about just seeing a Dark Tower movie in the theater that someone walked past us and they looked at us, and I was just hi, and I was I don't know why. I don't know why this I just said hi to this person that looked over at us.
We had to take it 3 or 4 times because the lighting was bad.
Yeah.
And it
And
was
afterwards-
awkward.
That's how you know he cares about you, because he took a selfie of the two of us, and I'm a blur.
Yeah, that was not a good one either.
No, yeah. To
Now,
be
of course,
fair,
myself being the professional, the one I took was crystal clear.
Yeah, I'm sure it
And
was.
I took mine before he took his. So
Yeah.
I can't judge.
Matt is a friend of the snipe picture. He will just basically what I mean by that is he will take a picture of you without your knowledge.
Yep.
Very creepy, and he's very good at it.
my cat would attest to that as well.
Yeah,
And
so I can
Yeah.
attest to that after over a decade of friendship,
right.
where I feel like you could do that before. You could do that before camera phones were a thing.
Yeah,
So-
that is very true. Yeah, that is
Just
very
hear the
true.
random click, rip, on the disposable camera.
I kid.
Oh God.
But no, the theater experience was good. We got great seats, bought our tickets in advance. I think we're the first people to buy tickets to that screening.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, a week in advance.
It was a reasonably filled theater. I
It
would say
was.
60-70%.
yeah, definitely more than half. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we were the only ones wearing Dark Tower t-shirts, but whatever.
I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely the first people there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're there
And
because the Emoji Movie sold out.
right.
Yeah.
The memory the thing that I said right before the movie started. I don't know if you remember this, Tiny, or right before the trailer started was okay, well, if it sucks, then our friendship's over.
Yeah.
And then in my head, after seeing it, I keep thinking of that scene at the end of Fanboys, which, I mean, hey guys, if you haven't seen Fanboys, spoiler alert for the last scene of Fanboys. But the line at the end where he's like, hey guys, what if the movie sucks? Like, that's kind of how I felt in retrospect, but we'll get into the review eventually, I'm sure. Just imagine that we've spent all this time just bullshitting and everything, and then we're going to get into the world, and we're getting into the review, and we're giving you an accurate idea of how the movie is, because we spend like 20 or 30 minutes in New York with Jake before we even see the gunslinger, or Midworld, but that's fine. Finally, let's talk about The Dark Tower.
Yes.
Starring Tom Taylor, Idris Elba, Matthew McConaughey, who, if you would have told me 2 years ago, even go back as far as 5-6 years ago, if you had said, hey, there's going to be a Dark Tower movie with Idris Elba, that you know from The Wire. Let's bump this up to when True Detective was on. There's going to be Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey as Roland Deschain and Walter O'Dim in a movie about the Dark Tower. I would not have, I would have thought that you were insane if you would have told me, and the worst performance in that movie for you is going to be Matthew McConaughey, and probably the first one is going to be a very close tie between Idris Elba and the kid that they have that you haven't seen in anything. So let's go around and talk about our just our broad idea of how the movie was to us and everything. Tony, since you're our guest, you are our guest. Your guest is us. And you're, I would think, going to be probably more positive than us.
Well,
I don't know how it's
spoilers, we spent about
timing.
45 minutes after the film talking about it on Saturday. And, being a piss poor podcaster, I had a recorder in my pocket and I didn't pull it out.
Yeah.
Now, first thing I can say, it's no multiplicity.
Which that was beautiful. Can you explain that moment? Because that was so beautiful.
Okay, Tiny, you know how he is so proud of having his one line that he wants to say when a film is over.
Oh, yeah.
Just that one line.
Yep.
He's looking at me expectantly. And all that's going through my head is how I listened to the previous episode with him and Ficus talking about,
Spider-Man Homecoming, and how he was comparing. He kept mentioning multiplicity as it was a running joke that we were talking about how multiplicity is like the defining moment of Michael Keaton's career, which I personally really like that movie, but whatever.
But listening to that, the only thing that goes through my head is, "There's my line." So he looks at me at the end of the film, and he's kind of got this weird look like, okay, what does he think? And I just kind of look at him, lean over and go, well, it's no multiplicity.
Nice.
Which is great.
Had that one in the pocket waiting to, I like it.
Was holding on to that.
Very nice.
But in all seriousness, going into it completely blind, it was your average run-of-the-mill, late summer, low-budget action film. Which, based on what you guys have said and what other friends that are into the book series have said, that is probably the greatest crime of them all. The fact that it is that, and it's semi-enjoyable. It's like, for me, it's like Last Action Hero or something like that. It's a beer and pretzel film. It's a popcorn film. It shouldn't have been. Right. But because I didn't have that connection, I didn't have that seething rage building up.
Right.
About it. But yeah, for me, and I think that's even, I said that in a conversation that you were privy to on Twitter, I think the worst thing about the film is going to be if I come out of it and like it and everybody else that's actually a fan of the series hates it. It's like you're that person going into the Phantom Menace that has no familiarity with Star Wars whatsoever. You come out of it and go, that was a lot of fun. That was pretty good. And everyone else around you is going, midichlorians. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to be rushing out to get it on Blu-ray. Yeah. I lie. I was actually, if they had another showing between when I got off work and this evening, I was going to go watch it again, just like I did with Rogue One. So I have it a little bit more fresh in my memory. But it's not something I'm really going to go out and say, no, Liz, you've got to go see this with me. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was average.
Okay.
Yep. And Tiny, you and I talked about the movie immediately after it. We did a Facebook Live video. That was our immediate reaction. And then you and I got dinner and we kind of talked it out some more. And then in the pod chat with Mike, who I might see if he wants to do a Pine Tree perfume for this because he saw it too. We talked it out some more, and then the next day you said your feelings had changed for the worse for it. So how do you feel now that you've had like a few more days to kind of separate yourself from it? And how has it festered with you? And what do you think?
How has it festered like that cat turd in the litter box?
Yeah, right. Like it's festered like a cat turd. It's been a roller coaster because if you look at that YouTube, that Facebook Live video, I think I was like trying to save face, or just, I didn't want to like jump to any conclusions. That's my issue with like immediate reactions.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it was pretty okay. And then within 24 hours, I think even that starting that night while we were having pizza afterwards, I started like shifting towards this thing was just like a unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
And then sleeping on it and thinking about it, I was like, okay, it was just a bad movie. I think it was just a pretty bad movie. Disaster is too strong of a word. Okay is too kind.
Tragedy?
Tragedy, yeah, very tragic.
Yeah.
If you're us, it's a tragedy.
It is.
You can ask Paige. I was a little depressed on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't in the best mood. We had to go out and like, play with the dog and have some fun, and I started to cheer up. Like I was not happy. The movie was really just a jumbled mess. And this is not coming from a place of being upset about the creative liberties,
right?
Because that's one of the things I didn't have really much of an issue with was the creative liberties they took. I really didn't mind them that much. It's a combination of other things that just really took the Dark Tower books, put them in a blender, threw in a little couple of festered cat turds, and poured out half of a tiny glass.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
That's my feelings exactly.
It was, in terms of an adaptation, it was an unmitigated disaster.
Right.
But just as a movie, it was just kind of a bad movie. There were parts where, about midway through the movie, I was actually kind of getting into the story a little bit. Like, I think I missed an Easter egg or two because I was just kind of falling into the story and just following it a little bit. But it was the beginning that just pissed me off from the beginning. And then the ending, I was just like, I am so mad right now.
Yeah.
But the middle part was okay. It was okay, but again, combine it all together, not very good.
Yep. And, okay. So okay. So this is maybe the most excited I've had, or the most excited I've been to record an episode of the podcast, only because I want to get all of this out and just, it's like, it feels like it's just been, like there's a tightness in my chest that's like I just need to explode with my feelings about this movie. And it's not a good movie. As a movie, it's not good. As an adaptation, I don't want to say abhorrent, but it's like it is a slap in the face to the series. In what I hate several things about it. Like I just do. And one of the things I hate about it is that, or I don't know if this is fair to say, but it's like I hate the feeling that I had after the movie, because while I thought that Idris Elba was really good, even though they gave him fuck all to work with, like he had hardly anything to work with, he was a great Roland, and I think that if there was an adaptation that was true, like actually taken care cared for, and given a proper adaptation and proper treatment, not even adaptation, just a proper jump to the film and television medium with Idris Elba in it, I think that could work like gangbusters. That could be amazing. I hate that for the last year and a half, whenever they announced Idris Elba, I have been actively, just aggressively hating anytime someone says, oh, that's not my Dark Tower because there's a black guy playing Roland. Yeah. Because that's just purely racism. That's just, it does not matter what race Roland Deschain is, if the actor is a talented actor, he's gonna do great in the role. I hate that argument, or not that argument, but that statement that this is not my Dark Tower is what I am saying now, because they failed so hard at making a Dark Tower movie. Like, this is not reflective of the book series that I love, and I've spent the last nearly decade loving and mulling over in my mind. It's like probably the best description that I read was from an Instagram post that was from, and I will credit whoever said it. Let's see. Oh, actually, it was a screenshot of a Facebook post. But anyway, the Instagram account is at hubris_and_hyperbole, but hyperbole is HYBERBOLE. This is from Heather, someone named Heather on Facebook, who I think is the person from that Instagram account. The description is, my take on the Dark Tower movie. Once upon a time, there was a prolific and very talented author who wrote an 8-book series that was loved by many. A less talented but well-meaning writer in training made a neat little abridged Cliff Notes version of those 8 books. This, in turn, was read by another man who didn't have time to read 8 long books. He told his sister about the book he read, and she told her hairstylist, who related it to her cousin's best friend. The best friend happened to be in the movie business. He decided to make a movie based on this story. He remembered Roland Deschain, the gunslinger. He remembered Jake Chambers, the boy from Earth. He remembered the man in black who fled across the desert. And yes, the Dark Tower. The tower at the center of all, which must stand or fall. He forgot the rest. And yeah, that is closely tied to what my thought was in the movie, about the movie, because I went into the movie with one thing that I stated I stated it vehemently in the weeks and months prior to it. Ever since I read The Dark Tower, I had one image in mind for the beginning of the movie. Any adaptation has to begin with the iconic line from the series that opens the book series: the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Like, that is a complete requirement for any adaptation, and they couldn't even get that right. There was an article where Stephen King said that he had fought for them to include the line, and the fucking line shows up 20 minutes into the movie. It's a voiceover, and it's against a black screen that is at the end of a dream sequence. It's like, it shits on the Gunslinger book. And I had such high expectations because I assumed that they were at least going to, like, I thought that the plan was that they were going to take the Gunslinger book, throw in stuff from later books to fill out the mythology, make it more action heavy for mass audiences, and have a complete story planned out. That's not what this movie was. And I won't get into the book series and everything, because I do want to remain as objective as possible as a fan of movies in general. But this movie was a complete mess, a complete narrative mess. There's a scene where Roland and Jake are by a campfire, and they see the beam from they don't call it by name, because fuck putting anything from the books in the movie, but from the Devar Toy or Algol Ciento, they see a beam fly up from it and go toward the tower. And then the next scene, Roland's like, okay, well, there's a tribe over there across this thing. We can go there, and so that they have a seer that can read your vision, so they can show where we go. Go in the direction of the fucking beam that you just fucking saw. Like,
it's literally a flare going into the sky. It's a flare that like, you see exactly where it's coming from. Go there. And then not only that, but like, to go back to the book fan thing of it, and I'm just going to get just kind of word vomit, and then you guys can join in a bit. But even then, like, to kind of showcase how much disrespect and how little faith they had in the source material for this movie, like, there's like, when that happens, Jake is kind of rattled, obviously, because it's like an earthquake. And then Roland says to him, it's a beamquake, stay calm. Beamquakes are a very big part of the book series. They have a very specific
meaning in that series. Not at one point did they reference the tower having beams. The beam quake that we see on screen isn't a fucking beam quake because they're not taking down the tower the way that they do in the books, or they attempt to in the books. And thirdly, he doesn't even explain what it was. Like the beam quake line is them giving book readers an Easter egg for the mythology of the book, like in the mythology of the series, which is such a shitty thing to do because this book series is so vast and dense with mythology, and it's maybe not as hardcore as like the Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire thing. Like Stephen King famously, he just kind of writes as it goes, and he kind of comes up with ideas later. So like it's not as fully planned out and everything, but this adaptation was a chance to make that more fleshed out and more 100% like rounded and everything. But instead we get a young adult action popcorn flick that has like little references here and there that don't even feel like references. They feel like they're just not meant to be in this. They make it feel like someone made a cheap fucking action movie and then threw in Dark Tower references because they're a fan of the Dark Tower and they want to make little Easter eggs to their favorite book series that has nothing to do with this fucking movie. And it's so irritating. And go ahead, Tony.
Well, if you remember, we had this discussion afterwards, and for the unwashed masses, such as myself, there was a beam, there was a quake, it was a beam quake.
Right.
And that's
for
true.
the unwashed masses. A big beam went across the sky, then there was an earthquake. It was a beam quake.
And that's fair. And that is
I know
totally
that's
fair.
not what it was,
right.
But that's what it was to someone like me.
Right. And that's fair, and it does work for the casual audience who don't know the books. But something about it just bothers me because it's not leaning into the mythology or anything. It's just using a word from the mythology to describe a thing that's similar to the thing in the books, but different because they wanted to just make a more accessible action movie.
It's kind of patronizing.
It is.
It's kind of patronizing to fans like us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I had a similar reaction to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite as passionate as yours.
Right. Oh, I've got so much more.
I was like, oh, that's dumb.
Yeah. Well,
Like, you're over there going, you keep using that word. I do not believe it means what you think it means.
right.
Yeah.
But I think my main thing, and I'm like, that was probably a section to talk about later in the review than anything. But like my main problem with this movie, even above the really, really kind of shitty and thrown together dialogue and lack of motivation for other characters. Well, I mean, this was the biggest problem I had. The biggest problem I had was that the Dark Tower series, from literally the first line of the book series through 4,000 plus pages, several comic book series, and the numerous compendiums and companion books that have been written by Robin Firth from Stephen King's personal assistant, and Bev Vincent, and people who have analyzed the Dark Tower. And everything, the heart and soul of this book series is that Roland Deschain is the last gunslinger from the line of Eld. He has, for his obsession, his ka is that he is possessed with reaching the tower to preserve his dying world. Like, that is his quest. That is what he's meant to do.
Possessed to the point where he does some despicable things.
Yes. Not only does he do despicable things, but like it's part of what makes him arguably Stephen King's most complex and most nuanced and most fascinating character and most tragic character, is that he is a tower junkie. And there was not a fucking shred of that in the movie.
Yeah.
They instead made this movie a fucking revenge movie where he's going after the Man in Black to kill him. And it has, like, he doesn't even say, like, he even says at one fucking point, he says, I'm not a gunslinger anymore. Like, what the fuck? Go ahead, yeah.
So once again, you're saying Roland was like, "You killed my father. Prepare to die."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's the
Exactly.
Princess Bride.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And it's and like the way that I equate this and the way that I describe this for people who haven't read the book series and who maybe don't want to read the book series now, which I was listening to The Nerds Are Looking For, our friends over in The Nerds Are Looking For, Pat and Tyler. Check them out at thenerdspodcast.com. They did a review of The Dark Tower, and Tyler said, like, they gave us shout outs and stuff because they know that we're huge fans of The Dark Tower. And so Tyler actually said, like, the thing that I'm mortified of anyone saying after seeing the movie, he said that the movie was so bad that it makes me not want to read the books at all. And, like, that makes me really sad because this movie was not indicative of what the books are like or what the journey is like. And for people who are uninitiated with the book series and have only the movie to go off of, imagine if the Lord of the Rings movies, imagine if instead of introducing the first movie as Frodo is given the One Ring to go to Mordor to destroy it in Mount Doom and save all of Middle Earth and everything. Imagine if instead of that, the first movie is just this bland revenge movie where Frodo is going after someone at Mount Doom, going after Sauron because Sauron killed a relative of his. Like, imagine if that was the main quest of Lord of the Rings instead of the quest to destroy the One Ring of Power. Like, imagine that, and imagine how much of a disservice that would have been to Tolkien and to the source material and everything. And on the flip side, imagine if Harry Potter, the Harry Potter movies, was just about this guy or this kid that goes to this magic school for witches and wizards, and there's nothing special about him. It's, he's just kind of a one-dimensional kid, doesn't speak to snakes or anything, doesn't have any of the history or anything. Maybe he just wants to kill his professor because his professor killed his parents. Like, that's the only motivation for that character. Imagine that and how much of a disservice that would be to the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, Voldemort's just like kind of a dickhead professor
exactly.
at Hogwarts, and he gets him fired.
Yeah, exactly.
And
he has the Force, but no, but like, imagine that, and then like like, imagine that, and then look at this as the worst case scenario, because this is what happened with the Dark Tower, and it's such a travesty. Like you said, Tony, it is tragic. It is actually, like, tragic for me.
Yeah.
It's the it's terrible. But that was my biggest grievance with it. That and the fact that they didn't open the movie the way that any adaptation would. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling and everything, but I just need to get this all out. Also, Akiva Goldsman, I blame him for it. He wrote several movies that are just absolutely terrible, Batman and Robin being one of them. He is notorious for writing just shitty movies. He was attached to the movie when Ron Howard was attached to direct. He wrote a draft back in, I think, 2014 that Ain't It Cool News, Eric Vespi over there as Quint, he wrote basically a description of the script, of that draft of the script from 2014. He wrote this last year. So I went back and I read that article. Almost everything, like, it seemed like it was said that when Nikolai Arcel joined the project and he was brought on as director, that he reworked the script and rewrote it. It seems like it is exactly what we got from Akiva Goldsman's script in 2016, and that's unacceptable. It's terrible. But anyway, I'm getting more into my personal feelings and stuff. Let's review the fucking movie.
Yeah.
So Jake Chambers, what did you guys think of Jake and Tom Taylor?
Damn.
I
mean, wow, especially considering he was one of the high points of the film
he was. And I really liked his portrayal of Jake. And I think that that's the one character that actually had at least a modicum of nuance to him, in that, like, there's that scene where he's the story for him, and I didn't mind them changing the story around for him, but he has these visions of Midworld, and he's just obsessively drawing these visions, and he's consumed by them. So he's at school, and this bully kid takes his notebook and is messing with him and stuff, and then Jake Chambers just knocks his ass down, and I'm like, that's really good. That's really great. Like, it shows that he's he's a precocious kid. He's very, like, he's not taking shit from anyone. He's not this little, like, pipsqueak kid that's gonna have this really bland and cliched comeuppance and everything, or this coming of age in the movie. It's like he's already a really strong-willed kid, and that's fairly true to the Jake Chambers that's in the books. So I enjoyed that, but the Man in Black had nothing. Like, there was nothing to that character. And then Roland, again, the most complex character arguably the most complex character in all of Stephen King's multiverse, is a sidekick in this kid's journey through Midworld, and it's just terrible. But I've talked a lot. You guys talk now.
So, Tiny, what did you think about Jake?
Yeah,
what did you think?
I think he was a bright spot as well. I was, dare I say, impressed with Tom Taylor.
Would you say that he was a shining point in the movie?
I would.
I can still do this. I
read some reviews, and people were shitty about that, about The Shining.
Yeah,
the shine used so many times. I really didn't give a damn, because in the books it's called The Touch,
right?
So it's got a different name, but it's The Shine. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just called a different thing on Earth than it is in Midworld.
The Touch.
He refers to it as The Touch.
Yeah.
You got the touch.
Yeah, exactly. Boogie Nights.
But, like,
Is that where you're?
It was a beginner.
Transformers.
Oh, Transformers.
All right.
Stan Bush.
Sure.
The Transform. I keep forgetting the age I'm working with here.
Oh, yeah.
I keep forgetting the original Transformers animated.
Okay, the 80s.
You mean Dark of the Moon? Age of Extinction?
So anyway, you were impressed with Tom Taylor.
Yeah. I thought he was good. I mean, I talk about shitty kid actors all the time.
Yeah.
He's not a shitty kid actor. I think he did a pretty good job. He had very little to work with. The dialogue was atrocious in this fucking movie. Just horrible.
Absolutely.
And he had some of the worst lines, without question. But he made it work. I could see his passion. In the book, Jake is driven by visions as well. And, like, to a certain, he's driven in the books,
3, yeah.
And he's driven in the movie too. And, like, I appreciated that was true to the character,
yeah.
And I think he did a good job with that. He was the only fucking passionate character in the whole goddamn movie,
right?
So I appreciated Tom Taylor, and I think he did a good job. I think with what he was given. Idris Elba had probably even less to work with. His passion was not there whatsoever. He's literally just a bitter old revenge story, like Matt said. And that's not interesting. It's not interesting like Roland is supposed to be interesting. But Idris Elba made something work in his performance. I don't know how he pulled it off. And he's supposed to be the main character, but he's just he just kind of shows up.
20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, it's just terrible. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. So kudos to Idris Elba. Matthew McConaughey had nothing to work. He had a lot to work with, but it was like trying to sculpt David, the statue of David, out of a junkyard. Like, that's what he was trying to do in his performance, and he failed. Not to his avail, not to his discredit.
They didn't give him anything.
Nothing at all to work with. I feel like this little magics that he used throughout the movie, was anyone else irked by the pluralization of magic?
Yeah,
I honestly didn't notice.
Really?
I noticed it too. I wasn't irked by it, but I didn't know if I didn't. I mean, I just feel like it's not like that in the comics or in the books.
I feel like it just stuck out like a sore thumb. It just
he was using more than one magic.
That's true.
That's true.
Whatever. So I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that.
I know.
Bullshit. I feel like his magics, where he's just like, he just says something and it happens, like, was super super lazy. I feel like they started filming it, and he would just kind of wave his hand and it would happen, and then Nikolai Arcel was like, why don't you say it? Say, like, stop breathing, and the person will stop breathing. Like, I feel like it was thrown in, and someone thought it worked, and Matthew McConaughey was like, really? You want me to just say it? All right. All right. And it just did not work, and it seemed super hokey. It was really bad. Like, it's almost like they were going for a Harry Potter thing, like Expecto Patronum or something. And did it just fail hard. And he was the vehicle for exposition in the movie, which, again, that's part of why his character failed and why his performance wasn't there, because he has to carry that freaking burden, and it always ruins the character. That was one of the most, getting away from the performances, that was, to me, one of the most egregious parts of the movie is that, I don't remember where I heard this, but a cardinal rule of filmmaking is you don't tell your audience what's happening. You don't do it through dialogue. You show them. Show them, don't tell them. And you need to find a way to visually represent an idea or a backstory or something. I mean, dialogue's there to support that. Yeah. But you need to show people what's going on. Don't just have. It's so lazy, and it ruins the story when you just rely on exposition and dialogue. So this movie was a majority of telling and not showing. So much exposition dumping, and just not in tune with the books at all, of course, but just not in tune with good filmmaking. At the end of the day, that was one of the most egregious things to me.
And it wasn't even telling us important things about the world or anything, or about. It wasn't even like world building for the universe or anything. It was just telling, like, Matthew McConaughey fucking telling a character like, oh, Roland is... Okay, first of all, him saying Roland can always resist my magics. No explanation of why the fuck that's the case. Not even really an explanation of what a gunslinger is, what they're meant to do. There's one single flashback to a complete nondescript war that had like one soldier on the field
and about 17 fog machines.
And then and then like he actually says to another character like Roland can resist my magic, so I just basically killed everyone that he's ever cared about. It's like that's the laziest thing. Like when you were describing the dialogue, Tiny, and the exposition dump and everything, I cringed because I remembered that line. Yeah. And it's like, oh God.
Also, there's not really any other noteworthy performances because every other character was not worth a fuck in the movie. Like, not the actors, not a discredit to the actors. The characters were not there. I mean, Richard Sayre, who is a integral character in the books and was played by freaking Jackie Earle Haley, who is a phenomenal actor. He's a terrifying man.
Who is only referenced as Sayre, but then Matthew McConaughey like at one point says, "Hey, Dickie," and it's like. No reference to his name being Richard. It's just he's just saying that.
Jackie Earle Haley and Richard Sayre. He has like 8 lines in the whole movie, and he's barely on screen. Yeah, just complete waste of Jackie Earle Haley. That was awful. And every other character
plays mom's dick boyfriend. That's all he does.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And Tiny, you had a great analysis of that guy's performance of Jake's stepfather.
I don't remember what I said, but
you said like, was he on mescaline the whole time? Like he had no energy. It was just like this. He delivered every line kind of like he was constipated, in that if he moved a single muscle, like the shit was just going to come out of his ass. Yeah. Or like he was holding in shit. Like it was so bizarre.
He's like, if you don't go with him right now, I'm going to drag you out there myself.
Exactly. Like that
that was all the fervor of his performance. Don't worry about it.
How did you feel about the exposition dump and everything? And then after this, we'll just go right into spoilers because I have things that I want to say. Go ahead.
And honestly, I have no comparison I can make. I mean, yes, it was poorly written. They worked the best they could with what they had. All 3 of them. I just think Tom had a little bit better going for him. Idris Elba was, he was nailing the grizzled, vengeful person that Roland was written as. Just as we know he could have, nailed a better portrayal of Roland. But with what he had to work with, he nailed it, and he did a really good job with it. McConaughey, I saw somebody mention, and I agree, he was just a little bit over the top in all of his explanation. And like I said, the whole like you were saying, the whole saying, you know, walking past the little girl on the park bench, hate.
Yeah.
And just stupid stuff like that. It's like, the hell, man?
So uninspired.
Stupid.
Yeah, and I have no way of corroborating this. I have no, like, this is just complete conjecture on my part. But the way that his magic and his sorcery is depicted in the movie, it honestly feels like they had an idea of how to show it. Like he would wave his hands and like things would come out of his hands and like they would have some special effects there and stuff. Then they realized, like, oh shit, this is a $60 million movie. We need to you know, allocate the special effects money to the portal. So let's just ADR him.
We got to pull a little
stuff.
bit back out of Idris Elba getting thrown into it against a pillar.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's
just
make him
expect
ADR
him to
some
like
stuff.
just start walking through New York going Captain Trips.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
See, I told you I was reading the IMDb stuff.
Nice. Which, to be fair, like it is. I mean, the Man in Black is Randall Flagg from The Stand. Those two, the Stand and the Dark Tower series, are very intricately, they're very much intertwined in significant ways. And like he is somewhat like that in The Stand. Like he walks through. Like it's described in the book that he walks through an area and people like develop cancer and stuff because he is this evil sorcerer that just spreads just darkness and pain and death everywhere he goes. He didn't say like, oh, hate, stop breathing, get cancer. Like he didn't say shit like that. Like it was a powerful thing for him. And then yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think of the action and stuff?
I felt like it was very. It lacked uniqueness in any form. I feel like I didn't pick up on anything throughout the movie where I was like, oh, that seems like a very unique Nikolai Arcel thing, or like, you know, that really. It didn't even stand out like a Michael Bay movie or anything. Like it was so vanilla, such vanilla action. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't, you know, I didn't hate it. It's just that I wanted something unique. You know, there's descriptions in the books of some of the action, and the gunslinger is supposed to be like this unparalleled talent of an ability with a gun. You know, that's part of the philosophy of firearms. It's supposed to be an extension of your body, and his guns are truly an extension of his body. He says it in his creed. I shoot with my mind and I kill with my heart. And it's you know, it's takes that concept and turns it into like a supernatural creed. Really, it's tied up in this. It's just an incredible ability to wield a firearm. And there's some cool stuff in there. I think the speed reloads and stuff, that was cool. That was cool. But I didn't pick up on anything that really blew me away.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, really blew me away.
Nice.
It was okay, especially the climactic part was especially noteworthy to me, and the whole kind of Matrix-y slow down time thing where he shoots the guy through it. That's cool.
That was cool.
Given away in the trailer because it's one of the only cool parts of the movie.
Pretty much every action sequence is given away in the trailer.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's going to be forgettable. There's nobody who's going to remember, like, hey, remember that one part in the Dark Tower?
Even when we got dinner, like, I was like, do you remember, or I was going to tell you about, like, oh, I thought this one part was funny, and then it was literally, like, about 20 to 30 minutes after we saw the movie, and I was like, I can't remember the one part of the movie where the comic relief actually was effective on me. I ended up eventually remembering it, but anyway, what did you think of the action, Tony? And you have a background with special effects and stuff, so how did you feel about the special effects?
Remember, I'm first off, I'm practical effects, not so much digital. I'm not a huge fan of digital. But first off, you know, to go off of what Tiny was saying, it was, like you said, it's almost like you've seen it all before.
Yeah.
The speed reloads were cool. But I mean, the rest of the stuff, I saw better gun work in, You remember Wanted with Angelina Jolie?
Oh, yeah.
James McAvoy?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Better gun work in that. Heck, I was able to catch the first 20 minutes and I had to go do some audio editing. But
Kingsman, the Secret Service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's trying to get me to watch that, and I'm not saying I'm against it. I just haven't had time. Mm-hmm. But she wants me to see it before the sequel comes out because they want to go see it. Yeah. But just the little bit I saw in there's better gun work in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, this is someone called the Gunslinger. You're expecting just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know what Matt's trying to lead me towards here is, we're talking about the action sequence at the end when he's...
Should we save that for spoilers, by the way? It doesn't... I don't think it really matters. Go ahead. Screw it. No one's going to remember this movie in 2 years anyway. Yeah.
You might as well just put at the beginning, we really didn't care about spoilers on this. So, folks... Sorry. But, at the very end, when he's going head-to-head with Walter,
yeah.
With Walter.
The Man in Black.
There's a scene there where Walter uses the magics to throw him up against a pillar. And you can tell they used all the effects budget on these beams because, as I told Matt after the show, it's like they borrowed from the physics engine from Goat Simulator. That's how bad it looked.
It really did.
Yeah.
So,
and the cheesiness of the Man in Black catching bullets.
Yes.
And then he takes them and throws them back like he's dealing fucking cards.
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
It was so cheesy. Mm-hmm. It was so fucking cheesy. That did not work at all.
Terrible.
Yeah, and part of the problem is probably because the Man in Black is not an action character.
Right.
He fights with words in the books. I mean, he's a wordsmith. He's not
He's a sorcerer who orchestrates thing and things and
to my previous point about the action, very famous movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, opening scene of that movie where he's playing cards and someone asks him how fast he really is. Are you really the fastest gun in the West? And he demonstrates that. No spoilers. I needed that about 20 times in this movie. That's what the gunslinger, that's what Roland Deschain is supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's as a point of reference for the audience. That's what it's supposed to be. There is almost zero of that, with the exception of the speed reloading.
Right.
Again, I give him credit for that, but
it
just it needed to be a pervasive part of the movie and stand out, and the way that we're talking about the movie Wanted, or The Quick and the Dead, or any of those movies like that. Tombstone.
Yeah.
It's Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. You can reference it 50 years later. No one is going to do that with this movie.
Right.
But it should have been an integral part of the movie, and it just wasn't there.
Yep.
It's a shame.
Now, one last thing I do want to bring up, because there's probably going to be no other decent place to bring it up, was something else we were putting in the plus column was how pretty the movie was. At least a lot of the set pieces that were used. It's
not necessarily how I imagine Midworld to be, but I mean, I think they did a fairly okay job with their budget. They had a very different locations and everything. They had the Mohaine Desert. They had the Manny Village. Not that they reference that because, of course, why the fuck would you mention anything that's canon from the books? But whatever. And just make them just bland, just there's a tribe of people. But
except, do you guys know what was that building overlooking the village? What was that?
Fucking clue.
No idea.
Oh yeah, no idea.
I think it was a train terminal.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Which could be referential to the books, but they barely heavy-handed.
Could be, yeah. Even if it was a reference to the books, that's not even accurate to reference of the books. But it looks and that's one of the things that I love about the Dark Tower world of the Dark Tower in the books is that it's this Western kind of thing where Roland Deschain is like a cowboy who's on his own, and he's going through the desert and stuff. He's a gunslinger, and then but you get it developed that the world that he's in is this almost post-apocalyptic thing where they'll reference things from our current day and in our past, technology and things like that that they reference as being from the old people. And that's not saying that Midworld is Earth 2,000 years in the future or anything. It's just like there are relics from other worlds and from our world that are like laying in wait and that are just kind of all over the place. And it's this fascinating tapestry of like putting together like Western, science fiction, action, horror, all of these elements together to make this very well realized universe in the books that's just not in the movies.
So that raises the question, and you guys are talking about the exposition lines and all that. You might have blocked it out. How close was the line when they're talking about the amusement park, where he's going, these are the things your world forgot? How close is that to actually?
They just reference the constructs as being from the old people, so like it's just this. I think it's fairly accurate that they don't know where they come from or anything, but, and I did appreciate that line and everything, but, where Jake's like, they're theme parks. You have theme parks here, and then he's like, no one knows where they're from or what they are, and he's like, they're theme parks.
And no, Jake, those were amusement parks. Those
right,
were not theme parks.
Yeah. He might have said amusement parks. I don't remember.
No. He said theme.
Did he? Okay.
And the former Disneyland cast members over here going, no, those are amusement park rides. There is no theming.
Sure.
Nice.
But yeah, and that's fairly accurate to it and everything. But like he throws out the phrase "the world has moved on," and that's another thing that I had a gripe about. Is like he says that, like that's what is said throughout the books, is that the world has moved on. Like Midworld itself has moved on. There's been this kind of apocalyptic event. There's nothing like left. Time and space are kind of thinning out, and they're like it's this very mystical thing, and that's why he's going to the fucking Dark Tower, is so that he can try to preserve his universe in Midworld. But he just says, "Oh, the world has moved on," because hey, that's what they said in the books. And it's kind of like most of the relics that are make an appearance in the books and in the movie for that short scene. They're kind of all like a bunch of Stonehenges. Like, yeah, you see it and you can go up and touch it, but you don't really know what they used it for. That's kind of how it is. Like, in the books, there's like an oil refinery station, like there's oil derricks and there's machine guns and tanks and stuff, but it's the Old West. So it doesn't really make any sense. And they're just like, well, we don't know how to take this black stuff coming out of the ground and put it in the tank to get it to work, but they're both there. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that. It's cool. Relic is the proper word to describe the stuff. Yeah, and it's fascinating in the books, and in the movie it didn't do much for me. Yeah. Let's see. Should we just use this to jump into spoilers, so we can go into specifics about some of the set pieces and
yeah, because I think we kind of already started to. So.
We did, yeah, but we can at least throw out like, oh, hey, spoiler warning. So okay.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual Shocktober in Irvington, presented by the Obsessive Viewer podcast. Join the hosts of the Obsessive Viewer on October 6th, 2017 at the Irving Theater for a one-night event screening of short horror films, including the premiere screenings of the latest film in J.P. Leck's cross-medium Elsewhere World universe, the latest film from Snapshot Productions, and much more. Come celebrate the horror genre in the historic Irvington area and meet the filmmakers with live Q&As after each screening. You can also win DVDs and Blu-rays, movie-related party games, horror-themed Funko Pop figures, gift cards to Irvington businesses, and so much more. Tickets are on sale now at SHOCKTOBERInIrvington.com. All proceeds go directly to the Irvington Historical Society. And whether at the Irving Theater or in your nightmares, we will be seeing you on the 6th of October.
Okay, so spoilers on for the Dark Tower. So this movie had a very small budget, and I am not opposed to low budget movies at all. If the studio and the filmmaker and everyone knows how to manage the budget. This movie was clearly a mess budget wise, because it's like there were moments where like we have these nice set designs of the Manny Village and of to an extent. No, I won't even say that the place where they have all the kids is good. It's just basically a lair. But they have some cool set pieces and everything here, and set design set up. But when you look at like the nighttime action scene, the first nighttime action scene in the forest, with the monster coming out of what was essentially a thinny from the books, but they didn't say it as such because, again, a running theme of the movie is, hey, we're afraid to actually dive into the mythology of the book, so let's not call it what it is, and also don't actually show it the way that it's depicted in the books, but that's neither here nor there. So like we get that, and it's kind of a nondescriptive like monster attack thing, which I thought was okay, but then we get like just hack screenwriting, hack dialogue, where like after Roland has gotten away from the monster and everything, he says to Jake like, that was really brave of you, and I'm just like, what the fuck did he do? He like started to go for the gun, and then he bailed and went to the playground to hide. Like that, how is that brave? Like that's not like if he's going to compliment his bravery or if you're going to cement their relationship or really like soften up their relationship and make them more together in this, make it a fucking big point where he is like he's going to save Roland or he shows that he is this kid that's not afraid of everything. He's going to put himself in harm's way to save this guy. Like show that. Don't just say like, oh, that was brave of you to almost go for the gun. It's fucking stupid. But anyway, one thing that I did like in that scene kind of prior to that, though, and we can talk about that, and I'm rambling again, I'm sorry, was that when I guess Jake is drawing in the sand or in the dirt, and he has the stick up, and it's the Dark Tower, and you see the beams that they never reference, because why would you reference the beams? Because, that's just an integral part of the lore of the Dark Tower, but whatever. But I really liked the comparison or the description that Roland gave about the Dark Tower, even though it's technically not really like what the description is in the book.
But it was an okay creative
It was an okay creative choice.
I was fine with it, yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially saying that the Dark Tower holds up a force field around the universe that keeps the darkness outside of the universe. Again, in the books, that's referenced as Todash space, but hey, whatever. That has a bunch of monsters and everything, and that the Dark Tower is the center of that to keep that in effect. What I liked about that was that he actually took like a huge ass spider and put that there, which I thought was a nice visual nod to the books, because there's some interesting things with spiders and stuff later in the series. But
they showed us.
They showed us.
They didn't tell us what it was.
Exactly.
They mixed the two.
Well, but anyway, what did you guys think of that monster attack in the forest?
That was. I heard a lot of people bitching about that too. That it was poorly lit, and it's not that they're wrong, but it's like it was at night. It's gonna be a little dark. I could see everything perfectly fine in that scene. It didn't bother me, other than the fact that it was, again, just a really generic scene. And it's like, is Roland is he tethered to that tree? How did it secure him to that tree? What's going on? It was a little confusing, but it wasn't terrible.
It was a monster fight in the forest.
Yeah.
That's, once again, one of the biggest sins. It's a monster fight in the forest. It's forgettable.
I did like that it did pay homage to the books, and that it showed the characters what they want to kind of goad them into going into that space and everything. What I didn't like was that the whole thing with Jake's father, like it was such a flimsy. I get what they were doing. It was such a flimsy thing, but I get what they were doing. They were trying to make a connection between Jake and Roland's father was killed by the Man in Black, even though that replaces his fucking quest in the books. But whatever. God,
I really wish I was like video recording this right
it's
now.
So frustrating.
He's got a vein that's about ready to start popping out of his forehead.
Well, the thing about Stephen Deschain's death is that even in that fucking scene, you don't even know that he's his father, like, at all. Like, it's not referenced that he's his father until later in the movie, and like it's not even like an aha. No, in the movie.
Oh, movie.
Yeah.
I guess I was just running off the assumption.
That's not in the book at all.
And it's not in the book. Yeah, that's
okay.
not part of the history or anything. Again, they took Roland's quest to preserve his world and to seek the Dark Tower as an obsession and everything. They took that and replaced it with, hey, this guy killed my dad, I'm going to go after him. And we get a little bit more like background on that in that scene in the gun store, which I actually enjoyed, even though it was kind of silly to have him shoot the gun to knock him out.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was kind of funny, but, whatever.
You know how I made that connection before it was even mentioned about the father?
The gunslinger.
The trailers.
Oh, the trailers, yeah.
Because when he mentions the father in the Creed,
Yeah.
they showed him.
And that's why I was so
the trailer.
excited, because we were going to see Stephen Deshane and we were going to see their history and stuff, but not at all. Not at all.
Not even slightly.
Nope.
Yeah.
All you catch is he's told to stop breathing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yes. And like even looking at this as just a movie, the main / supporting character of Roland Deshane is going after the Man in Black for murdering his father. The most anticlimactic death scene. Like, you would think that there would be more of a build-up and more energy to it and more of a more heartfelt thing. But no, it's like, this is just about I think, is that the first fucking scene we see of Roland? I think that's his introduction to the movie.
Just pretty much.
You see, and once again, you see, this is the problem. You've seen it twice. We've seen it once, and we can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. And yes,
it's I think so.
I think it was.
But I wouldn't put my money on.
It was like a dream that Jake was having.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure that this was that was the first we see of Roland, and it's just him with Dennis Haysbert. Dennis Haysbert gets killed, and then Man in Black gives him gives us some exposition saying, like, Roland, you can resist my magics, and the tower is going to fall. That's it. And that's our introduction to Roland Deshane. That's our introduction to his quest to kill the Man in Black. He doesn't give a shit about the tower. And then even in the war description, like, it's a nondescript war. It's like the Man in Black wants to reach the tower to destroy it so that he can bring in the monsters from outside and rule, like, darkness. So was that war like them fighting to preserve the like it was nothing. There was nothing described about that. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting away from a bunch of points that I was trying to make, but I can't remember now. You guys talk.
Well, I think it's important to bring up the reshoots in this, because they really made $66 million feel like $6 million, especially with the reshoots. Because I'm pretty sure that the scene with Roland and his dad where he gets killed was a reshoot, and it looks like they just went to like a wooded area off of a highway in LA somewhere with a fog machine.
There's no really good wooded areas like that around LA. Just want to throw that out there.
Okay, Sacramento. I don't know.
Sure.
They road tripped it to Northern California to the woods up there. That's what it felt like. Somebody with a GoPro. I mean, it was that bad, and then the ending, which we can talk about later, but like the ending was this. I'm 90% sure that was a reshoot as well.
I'm pretty sure that's confirmed that was a reshoot.
Okay, and it feels like it. I mean,
really does.
It's like a sophomore in high school's AV project. That's what it felt like. It was just so atrociously bad.
Yeah, I kind of liked the line, the hot dog line. I'm not gonna lie.
It was a little bit. It was
kind of funny.
Yeah.
Didn't fit at all, but I thought it was like, it's kind of funny. It's like, it says like, what's this called? It's a hot dog. Savages. What breed? I kind of like that. The delivery was a little off with Jake's reaction, but I liked that. Didn't belong at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it's followed up with fucking Roland saying like, well, why don't you come with me? You have nothing to live for here.
Yeah.
So why don't we go to this kind of completely barren wasteland together and, hang out and stuff. He doesn't say, let's go protect the tower or anything. He says, let's just go. And it's like, that's supposed to be the lead-in for a sequel or whatever.
Yeah, the certainty of food, water, and shelter that you have in this world.
Right.
Just completely abandon that and put all that at risk in this other world with me.
You have nothing to live for, despite your best friend that lives right next to you that has a family and everything that I'm sure would take you in as their own and everything now that your family's dead. But hey, no. Let's come with me, since I apparently killed some dude after massacring a bunch of people with guns and everything. But let's go. Let's go. You heard how the doctor said I have all types of hepatitis and radiation poisoning. Let's go where I got that. God damn it.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was the I don't think it's never given its name in the movie, but it's Algociento or Devartoy, another name. This place has multiple names, but it's basically the evil lair of the Man in Black. I am shocked at how shitty Bond villainish that was.
Yes.
I mean, it's like
he didn't have a cat.
Yeah,
he had rat people. He didn't have a cat.
It's true.
He had chicken.
No scenes of him stated that. Fucking Christ!
I will actually defend the scene with him in the kitchen cooking chicken.
Yeah,
I kind of liked that because that felt like a Randall Flagg kind of thing.
That did. That's true.
Yeah.
In another scene, the Man in Black is like, I don't know what the hell it is, but it's a random scene where he's walking up to this guy who's dying, and he's like.
It's in the field after the battle with that looked like a Civil War reenactment. Like Conner Prairie or something. Yes. That's a level of set. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like this is a major film studio's release. Like it looked like a scene from the Project Greenlight movie with Shia LaBeouf, The Battle for Shaker Heights.
Yeah.
Someone had gone to the Civil War reenactment at Conner Prairie, taken a drone with a camera on it, flown over the battlefield.
Yep.
But he says, like, he leans down to this guy and he's like, you're worried that you're not going to get into the afterlife or something like that. And he's like, well, it's not real. He's like, it's not real. It doesn't exist. And then the guy's like, go to hell. And he's like, been there. It's like, so does the afterlife exist or doesn't it? Like what? Literally within 2 or 3 seconds, he contradicts
himself. I'm getting some
himself.
mixed messages here.
Yeah. It's like, and then he kills him. And God, it's just,
oh God,
it's a mess. But yeah, shitty Bond villain, evil lair was just really stupid and like, not creative at all. There are very cool aspects of that location in the book, and I understand why they didn't necessarily go for those, but they just made it so generic and goofy and unbelievable.
Yeah, and nondescript.
In a world with portals.
Yeah.
And also, I'm kind of I didn't think of this. I'm kind of stealing it from Slash Films review of this, but in the climax of the movie, Roland like. He shoots the machine inside that lair like 3 times, and it blows up the entire fucking thing. Yep. It's like, was it like the air vents in the Death Star? Like you hit it just the right way, and the whole thing blows up. Like I don't think it was really that.
A bullet went through and then went at a 90-degree angle down.
Yes, that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just really stupid shit.
But the crazy thing is the space that he shot too. Like if you looked at it, it was no bigger than a Womp Rat.
Yeah.
No, and I will say this: like I have been on record as giving shit for Star Wars fans and stuff. Like I'm gonna reap what I sow now because this is like this is my favorite thing. I love the Dark Tower. I hated this movie, but like the thermal exhaust port in Star Wars. It's a little silly and everything, but like not only in the movie, in the original movie, they built that up well. They explained it and everything. We even got in Rogue One, we got more background on why it was there in the first place. This is just, I have the hiccups. This is just like, he's a gunslinger. Let him shoot this thing and we'll blow it up.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Really bad.
Yep.
Well, the only thing I've really got to bring to the table at this point are the Easter eggs.
Yes.
And that not even the Easter eggs for the books, but the Easter, I'm using air quotes here, the Easter eggs for the other Stephen King work. Yes. I believe there was 3 lines I said I had to bring with me to this podcast recording. The multiplicity line, the ragdoll physics from Goat Simulator line, and saying how these are Easter eggs if it's an Easter egg hunt for a 3-year-old.
Yes.
You know those Easter egg hunts you do for really little kids where the Easter eggs are sitting right out in the open in really bright colors so you can't miss them?
Yep.
I mean, like I said, I haven't watched the films in years. I haven't read the books in years. I'm going, Twins from the Shining.
Yeah.
Oh, look, family from Cujo.
Yep. There's Cujo because they're like it's a shot, like it's not
they
an Easter
zoom
egg.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, the car from Christine.
He's playing with Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was harder finding Christine in the trailer for Ready Player One. Christine's in that trailer.
Nice.
It was harder. I had to stop and look.
Yeah.
And he's just playing with that, what was it, Plymouth Fury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just playing with that Plymouth Fury.
One of the funniest Easter eggs for me that it makes me laugh in retrospect, because I think maybe Slash Film may have mentioned this, but another podcast mentioned this, that when they're at the Manny Village and they're like doing the portal and everything, which the Manny folk, the Manny people are this kind of religious sect in Midworld that, like, they're known as like world travelers, that they travel to different worlds and stuff like that. It's a very spiritual thing, but no, they just have this portal that they need to just put the right parts in and just power it up. They got to plug in the surge protector and press power, whatever. But my thing was that they, when they're at the entrance of the portal right before the attack, the guy, the kind of leader guy is like, remember this number, because you'll need it to get back. First of all, that makes no sense because they don't go back. Like, there's no reason for them to go back. They're going to New York to get to the lair, to get to a portal, to get to where they have all the kids and everything, and to get to the Man in Black. Like, there's no reason for them to come back. The only reason that they say that in the movie is so that we as the audience will look up and see that the number is 1408. And it's like, it's just like nail on the fucking head. Like, like just hit us over the head with it. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
What's 1408?
Oh, 1408 is a short story that actually was adapted into a movie with John Cusack and Samuel Jackson.
Oh, duh. Okay.
That is, from what until it comes out next month, because it is going to shatter it. But I believe that 1408 is the most successful opening weekend box office movie of Stephen King's adaptations.
Really?
I believe so.
Wow,
I
that's
think
a
I
shame.
read something like that because.
Well, it had the drawing power of John Cusack.
Yeah, and Sam Jackson.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, but they couldn't repeat that with Cell.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Monday box office: Dunkirk 2.7 million, Emoji Movie 2.2 million, Dark Tower 2 million.
Ugh.
So it was actually third for Monday box office. Anyway, I'm looking up the brand of Stephen King.
But that means it's up to 21?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, and speaking of budget again, I remember 5-6 years ago when J.J. Abrams just kind of wanted to make this random movie called Super 8. He made that movie for like $50 million. So
yeah,
$10-15 million less than this. And that movie was way superior to this. Like, I remember being surprised, like, man, he made this movie for $50 million. Like, that was impressive. And here we are, and this $66 million for this felt like I said, damn near like a sophomore, with the exception of some quality CGI and everything, and some good costume work. I think Roland Deschain looked amazing.
He looked amazing.
Looked incredible. Other than that, a sophomore in high school's AV final project. Yeah.
And
seen more quality work come out of the folks coming into Shocktober.
Yeah.
And some of those people
yeah.
are only making films in 48 hours.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is not to disparage any of the folks that show at Shocktober.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. And I just looked it up, and it is confirmed 1408 of the 41 Stephen King movie adaptations, or Stephen King book adaptations that were made into movies. 1408 is the highest grossing opening box office take. That's at 20,000 for the opening weekend. So
20 million.
20 million.
Okay.
And so it is going to demolish that, because it is going to be amazing. The movie It. But anyway,
Yes, it is.
yeah. I know that there's more to talk about with this. Oh, the Easter eggs and stuff. So, okay, wait. Let's back up. Let's talk about the sheer stupidity and ridiculous nature of the doorway demon in the Dutch Hill scene.
Yes. What the fuck?
Fucking disgraceful.
It was pointless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was pointless.
Yeah. What was your take on that as someone who hasn't read the books and has no context for it?
I didn't even know it was a demon. I thought it was like a defense system when you activated the portal.
Yeah.
Which also I think is fucking ridiculous that Jake's entry to Midworld is that he just walks into a house and he types in 1919 onto a pad and there's the portal. But the doorway demon, yeah. Tiny, how'd you feel about that?
Well, it was kind of a recurring theme throughout the movie that they shit all over the books in the regard that the portals are, I don't want to say non-existent in the books, but
right. They're not like that.
They're doorways.
Yeah.
They're described as doorways in the books, and in order to use them, you have to use. You don't just turn on. You don't flip a switch. You don't punch in numbers.
Right.
You need like magic, literal magic. You need the lengths that the characters in the books go through to use those portals.
Yep.
Is life-threatening. Like they have to.
Oh, yeah.
They have to wield a certain amount of magic or power. Or there's a whole book where they're kind of doing a favor for someone just so they can get something from them to use a portal.
Yeah.
That's an entire fucking book in the series. And so it's a really big deal to get to use these portals, and they're not used very often in the book.
No.
Okay, so there is world jumping, there's time jumping in the books, but it's used to such little effect because it's so important and it's so hard to do.
Right.
In the movie, like Matt said, he punches in some numbers, and in the Man Eye Village, they just crank up a generator and turn on their portal. Like it just completely downplays the significance of that concept. Yeah, and it is such a shame.
It really is.
It's really a shame.
Yeah.
Well, they crank up the generator until the Urukai comes in and tears it apart.
The Urukai. Right. Well, speaking of that, they're called Taheen.
They're called Taheen, which Roland mentions in the woods for, like, he says, like, those are agents of the Man in Black. They're the Taheen. No, that's all we get.
It.
And
Yeah.
they are they're knockoff orcs, essentially, in the movie.
I will say, I think their design in the movie was kind of cool with the whole seam on the neck.
I kind of like that, yeah.
That was kind of cool, but we don't really get to see what's underneath them. It doesn't make them that very scary, you know?
Right.
I thought that was a bit of a dropped ball, but at the same time...
It was the rat people, wasn't it?
They were kind of rat people, yeah.
Because there's a one walking around where he told they had to go get the mask.
Yes.
So you did see...
And that was cool. That was cool, and that was fairly close
It's like,
to the
I will
books
go
as
to
well.
the fence and say you did see what they looked like under the mask, but they weren't scary.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen more terrifying pictures of fursuiters at conventions around town.
Yeah.
Sure.
In the book, they're not just rats. They're kind of humanoid creatures that have the features of certain animals. There's like an eagle one. There's a rat one. There's a pig one. There's a bunch of different ones in the book. In the movie, they're barely referenced, but there's kind of just rat people in the
Yeah, because you saw the one, maybe two without the mask, and then when the one delivery driver got the side of his neck scratched, you saw the gray fur poking out. So
right.
Yeah,
so kind of a cool design that was not fully realized.
Right.
Yeah.
And as for the portals and stuff, like, not only is it so important and rare in the books for them to do it, and there's so much there, but like there's such a time factor to it, because they need to, like, in the later books, one of the best parts of it is that they need to make very crucial decisions about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, because the time runs different in each world, like. And you can't go back in certain ways and stuff like that. It's very complicated and very interesting. Here it's just like, oh, let's go to New York for a hot dog, and oh, let's go back to Midworld, and let's hang out with this chick that you're giving googly eyes to, Jake. It's like, it's stupid. It's stupid.
It downplays the importance of important things.
It really does. And the doorway demon is like the worst thing. Like, I almost laughed, and like, I hate that. Like, it was just this demon from the house took him, and then he just says no, stop, and then it releases him. And then it's explained later, just very half-assedly, like, oh, the shine is very, like, his shine is so pure that it destroyed the demon. It's like, fuck you.
He's got the touch. He's got the power.
Which okay, so if they even, like, they could have like they could have like if they wanted to do the shine, that's fine because that's a nice Easter egg. I didn't mind that at all, Tiny.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it at all. But if they wanted to incorporate like the touch and stuff, why didn't they just make like Earth side of it or Keystone Earth side of it? Like they refer to it as the shine over there, but then in Midworld and everything, and in the lore of the history and everything, it's referred to as the touch there. Like
right
there. Like why not do that? But whatever.
Well, have we effectively shit all over this movie? I think we have.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think this is the reason why I told Fecus that I would do a one-on-one thing with him, because I know that after we finish recording, I'm gonna think of tons of other things.
Yeah,
and then I'll bitch at him about it.
Right.
To kind of wind down, I do want to say that seeing The Dark Tower on Friday night and then on Saturday afternoon with you, Tony, I came home and Sunday, like I came home and I was distraught. Like Tiny said, I was depressed too. Actually the first night, Friday night, I threw on Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring because I wanted to live vicariously through that. Like this, like that and Game of Thrones, like The Dark Tower deserves the care that went into Peter Jackson making Lord of the Rings, or, Benioff and Weiss, I think are their names, doing Game of Thrones. And like, I watched this week's Game of Thrones, The Spoils of War. Is a great episode, by the way.
Yeah.
But I watched that episode and the whole time I was just like, I was so sad because I was like looking at the money that's on the screen in an episode of Game of Thrones. I'm like, this is what the Dark Tower deserves. And this is what, like, it's never going to get. Presumably it's never going to get this. And it sucks. It fucking sucks.
Matt, at the very least, Dark Tower deserved the care that George Lucas put into the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it didn't even get that.
At the very least.
It didn't. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's a disturbing sentence, but you're right.
Yeah.
And I feel dirty saying it. I really do.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I didn't have a dog in the race.
Right.
Horse, whatever. Words are hard.
You didn't have a Billy Bumbler in the race.
Yeah, sure. What you said.
Oh, that reminds me of a whole bunch of shit that we could have talked about. Hang on, go ahead. Sorry, I'll throw it in there probably.
But it's I went to see it because, listen, you guys talk about it, and I wanted to throw my couple bucks in towards the box office to, show my support for you guys.
Right.
And, but yeah, it's average and it's forgettable.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, if you put that film in front of me, and if you put the Andy Kaufman, Bernadette Peters classic Heart Beeps in front of me,
wow,
I would choose Heart Beeps.
Oh, man.
In a heartbeat.
Nice. But if you had Multiplicity,
dude, Multiplicity.
All things multiplicity.
Yes.
right? All things serve Michael Keaton. But yeah, a couple other things. We didn't touch on this hardly at all. So let's get everyone's thoughts on this. The fish out of water, Roland in New York sequences. I mentioned Billy Bumblers. There's animals in the Dark Tower called Billy Bumblers. They kind of look like raccoons. Like, probably my favorite part of the entire movie is the hospital scene where Roland is in the hospital and then he sees that commercial of the talking raccoons, and then he says to Jake, he's like, "Do the animals still talk in your world?" And he says no, and then he's like, "Wait, what do you mean still?" And that's a very nice reference to book fans to Billy Bumblers, because there's a very one of the significant characters of the whole series is a fucking animal that sort of talks. It's amazing, and I'm glad that they got that in there. And I like the humor of that scene. But again, it's just what did you guys think of the fish out of water thing and the gun store scene? We didn't really talk about that much.
Yeah, that stuff worked surprisingly well. I don't know that it necessarily needed more of it.
Right.
But it worked. Especially the chef with the knife was
great.
That was. I don't know about hilarious, but it was pretty damn funny. I laughed really hard at that one.
That was the part that I couldn't remember.
Right.
The funny part of the movie.
Right. And in the scene in the hospital and stuff. Yeah, it was funny and it worked, and I think it was injected at the proper moments in the story.
Sure. And people have been kind of shitting on the movie and making the comparison to Last Action Hero with that. To which I say that, yeah, maybe they should have saved that for the second movie and made the first movie or first installment just Roland and the fucking gunslinger.
Don't shit on Last Action
But
Hero.
anyway, I love Last Action Hero. But what did you think of the fish out of water gunslinger in New York thing?
Comic relief.
It tried to bring a moment of levity that really was not fitting the film and did not feel right.
Okay.
Now, of course, this brings me to a question that I've got a bad feeling that if I ask this, is going to get us on another 20-minute rant.
Okay.
But you saw it painted all over New York.
Oh, God damn it. Yes, go ahead.
Who the fuck was the Crimson King?
Okay, do you have another hour? No, the Crimson King is the big bad of the Dark Tower universe. He's not introduced until later in the series. He's not revealed until later in the series. And it's just like the Man in Black is just, he's not like, basically the Crimson King is the big bad of the universe. He's like, he wants to control everything. He wants to rule over Todash space and everything. Basically the graffiti is just, hey, reference to the books. I think there's one reference to the Crimson King by name, not by name, but by like inference or whatever, or it's implied because the two Taheen that lose Jake when the Man in Black talks to them, I think the girl says, "How can we serve him?" And I think she's referring to the Crimson King.
Yeah, she
but
is.
that's it. Yeah. So Tiny, what'd you think? And then talk about Crimson King and stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see much of the Crimson King in this because it's the first movie, and to have multiple villains makes it convoluted. Not that the movie wasn't convoluted, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, I was happy with those two references. All Hail the Crimson King was kind of etched on there. The Crimson King is kind of a weak villain in my book, in the books. I think he's sort of a weak villain, and he's just not explored all that well. He's a little bit cheesy, to an extent. But if you listen to the other part of this episode, I'm not sure how Matt's going to edit this, but I talk about one of my favorite visuals of the books, the illustrated versions of the books, is the first picture that appears of the Crimson King. It like kind of scared the shit out of me, and it's super effective on me, and I had like almost like an out of body experience the first time I saw that image, and I just love it. And so he's good in that respect, and I think that illustration was effective. But yeah, I'm kind of losing train of thought here, but I'm glad he wasn't really in the movie too much because I think it would have been confusing. So you're not the only one who's confused. Yeah. I mean, as you're reading the books, you're confused. Like, what's this Crimson King thing?
Is this the picture you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is a Crimson King.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool.
He sits on a throne of skulls.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so whatever. I think they could have just left it out. I think as shitty as the movie was, and as convoluted as it just didn't need to be in there. But
or they could have done some minor graffiti that they weren't.
Yeah,
but subtlety was nowhere in their dictionary.
In the ending, the two roses on the door.
Yeah,
was just like, there has to be a rose somewhere. Let's paint one on this door,
right?
For this reshoot.
Yeah. And then let's have the characters go into this building to go back to Midworld. Not show them because we ran out of money and this is a reshoot. Let's just flash some lights at the window and call it a day.
Right.
Fucking stupid.
That was ridiculously lazy.
Yeah, and we can start wrapping it up for realsies now. Yeah. Oh, there was one Easter egg that I didn't realize was an Easter egg until a couple nights ago, actually, or last night, actually. So, to put into context, what I do, like I've referenced that I play episodes of The Simpsons while I sleep, and I kind of sleep to The Simpsons. But what I've been doing is I've been playing the Dark Tower audiobooks while I sleep, which is kind of fucking awesome.
I bet.
Yeah, because like toward the tail end of my REM cycle, like before I wake up, I'll like start having the sound will kind of infiltrate my dreams a little bit. Like I had this weird dream where I was a bunch, like friends were coming over, and like my dad was Weird Al Yankovic.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, and it was at the end, like they were in the audiobook in Real World and in Keystone Earth. They were referencing Flag and referencing the events of The Stand, where I think it was it Trash Can Man that was like My Life for You.
Yeah.
Saying it over and over again. So they were referencing that, and like in the dream, I was saying my life for you, and that was just kind of a cool moment for me. But anyway, stupid. Anyway, so
all right, Max Headroom.
I was so anyway, I was listening to the audiobooks, and when in the movie, when I think it's after when they come into New York and out of the restaurant and stuff, and they have that marquee that says Spaghetti Week at the Majestic. That's actually from the Wastelands. I didn't know that. Yeah, in the book when Jake is going to Dutch Hill, it references the marquee says Spaghetti Week at the Majestic. But anyway, so let's go ahead and just say our overall thoughts on the movie, and how excited, Tony, are you for you to read the books and stuff after this?
If nothing else, I am hoping the books will wash the taste of the film out of my mouth.
Nice.
As I said, I didn't think the film was bad. I do not feel personally assaulted by this film because I have no basis.
Right.
All I got to say is it's an average action film that is entirely forgettable, which just on the surface is a crime against Idris Elba and everybody else. But then when you look deeper into it, as you guys can, it just becomes more and more insulting. So, but yeah, it's not one that I'm going to be rushing out to see anytime soon. Yeah. In fact, if it's one that I never see again, I'm okay with that.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it once, and all right, let's move on. I'm not going to say that's 95 minutes of my life I went back.
Right.
I'll kid around with you saying you owe me $11.99, but no, it was money well spent. I guess.
Yeah.
It didn't put as much weight on me as $12 worth of Taco Bell could.
Sure.
So even though my colon could use that cleansing, I guess. A lot like Gizmos from the sound of it.
Yeah.
But, little inside joke there.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason why I haven't shaken Tiny's hand tonight.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, I really just don't have that much to add other than it was an entirely average, forgettable film.
Okay. But you will read the books.
One of the reasons why I was playing with my phone over here is that I'm finding out Barnes & Noble's mobile site won't let me buy the book. I've got to do it.
I see.
Because I'm going to start downloading them to my Nook.
Yeah.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Buying them through the Barnes & Noble store, download them to the Nook, and it's just a plain paper, fake paper, whatever they call it, Paperlight Nook, but it's got a backlight to it, so I can before I go to bed read a chapter a night.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a quick read.
Get back in the habit of reading something that's not message forums and tweets.
Right.
That's horrible for my brand, I know.
But if you follow Tony on Twitter and on social media, and if he says good night and be excellent to each other and everything, or your common thing there, the way you end your post every day, go ahead and just send him as many tweets as possible, as many posts, as many messages and everything.
Be excellent to him.
Yeah. Yes. That's what he's wanting you to do, is he wants you to interact with him at that moment.
No, don't, because we want to read the book.
But, and this may be a loaded question, but if you did not have the context of us being massive fans of it, or knowing massive fans of the book series and everything, would this movie turn you away from reading the books?
I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly couldn't. Considering how my memories of the first two books are, meh, and then I'm going out of the movie going, meh. But then I'm reading the IMDb trivia that is giving a lot of these little tidbits about the books, about how it's tied into the other books. And I'm going, So, and it's like, I'm not really viewing them as spoilers. I'm like, oh, I want to see how they do this.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, unlike, telling me that about the thermal exhaust port is a major part of Rogue One, and then you're an asshole and I'm blocking you on Twitter.
Right. Jesus.
Aren't you glad you're not that? You're probably going to need to get the explicit tag for the amount that we've done.
Right.
True.
Tiny overall thoughts, and are you going to buy this?
I think I have to.
That's
the same reason why I have to own Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. I think I have to. Yeah, and I think I'm going to buy it. I want to see it again. I do want to see it again, just to, I don't know, make myself angry again.
Sure.
But no, I need to see it again just to pick up on some of the other Easter eggs and stuff like that. And yeah,
some call them Easter eggs, some call them missed opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, missed opportunities abound in this book or this movie. It's really, really a travesty and very, very slap in the facey to us diehard fans of the series. And it's just, we talked about how it's going to be pretty much impossible for us to. Before we saw it, we thought it was going to be impossible for us to review it objectively.
Right.
Oddly enough, I can, and so because it's not good, but like as a fan, and as an adaptation, like I said, it is a complete missed mark. It is blatantly poorly done. Just awful adaptation. And as a diehard fan of the series, I hated it. I hated it. But as a conscientious subjector, that's not right. Conscientious viewer, not objectively looking at it, it's just kind of a bad movie. Yeah. It's just kind of a bad movie with a few bright spots that were kind of fun or kind of okay. It's a compilation of scenes that are not sewn together all that well.
Right.
Middling performances, terrible dialogue, and just a structural mess for the most part.
Well, lucky for you, this isn't the Objective Viewer podcast.
Thank you.
Right.
That very well said, Tony. Yeah.
I'll have to own it too. I'm sure I'll buy it.
I'll support you guys, but not that far.
Sure. Sure. Well, at this point, I don't want that. Like, I want this to just be buried. I want it to just. I want it to be.
Away.
Yeah. I want in 20 years for someone else to make it right. And just forget that this happened. But anyway, as a fan of the books, this is heartbreaking, and it is just absolutely a travesty. And I'm not even angry at them for changing up. Like in the lead up to this movie, the way that the series plays out, the way that the book series plays out, like, it was very clear that this movie was meant to be like a hybrid of an adaptation, but also somewhat of a continuation of the main series and everything, which sort of, like, I was excited for that because I was expecting something very different. What we got was them throwing in a prop that is, for book fans, would notice it immediately, throwing in a prop to give them an excuse to just completely mangle the entire everything, to give them an out. And what I'm finding is that, like, if people like this movie, that's great. Hey, if you like the movie, good for you. I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad that you found enjoyment in it. But I posted something on the Dark Tower subreddit, and one of the comments was like, because I posted, and I'll talk about what I posted here in a bit and when I wrap this up, but one of the responses, or some of the responses that I've seen on Reddit and in the Dark Tower fandom and everything, is that, like, well, if it's a continuation, just see it as a continuation, and that's why why it wasn't good is that because you didn't see it as a continuation. As a fan of the books, it's very clear that yes, we know that we know how it falls in the canon and everything. We don't like it because it's a bad movie.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have the shit that we liked in the book series at all. Like I don't care that they changed anything because if they had done it right. The book series, the nature of the story gives them the right to make any changes they want. It just wasn't done well, and it was a mess, and it was a complete shit show. It feels like someone had the rights to the Dark Tower and needed to make something before the rights expired and they lost it. Like It felt like that type of movie, and it felt like at times it felt sort of like a proof of concept that this is like, okay, this is a collection of scenes that can serve as a movie, as an idea for the kind of movie that we want to make. So go ahead and finance this movie that we want to make out of what we have here. And like I said, I'll own it because I'm a diehard Dark Tower fan, and there were moments in it that I kind of liked, and I want to see how everyone justifies themselves on the commentary.
Yeah.
And also, like the entire time that you and I were watching it, Tony, I was sitting there thinking, like I was seeing the scenes in front of me, and I was picking apart the ones that looked visually nice, and thinking, like, at some point, I wonder if, like, to challenge myself, I wonder if I could edit together a trailer that would, out of just footage from the movie, to make it like look like it would be a good movie. Like that would be a challenge that I would want to do. I'd have to learn how to edit video and stuff, but I have 6 or so months to figure that out.
I'm not loaning you my editing laptop.
Well, we'll talk off the air. But anyway, my final thought, and this is a little inside baseball for book readers of it and everything. And Tiny, I hope that you appreciate this. One of my favorite Easter eggs in the last moment of the movie that I had, where I thought that this could be a really fun movie and really good. The last moment that I had thinking that this could be a good movie was in the opening credits when they had the studio logos, and they threw in one that I'm sure, Tony, you didn't catch this, but it said Tet Corporation, and it had a turtle and a rose, and that was the last studio logo that came up. I loved that because that's a reference to the books. There is something called the Tet Corporation that comes up later in the books, and it was a nice Easter egg for fans. My new fan theory for why the movie is bad and how the movie can fit in the canon of the series without being completely shitting on it. This is my new headcanon for it. That the entire movie is a propaganda film made by the Tet Corporation as part of their clandestine conflict with the Sombra group, which this is all played out on Keystone Earth in Keystone Earth on in the latest books and later books in the series. But there's this whole hint thing that there's two corporations that are going after each other, all in the name of one is basically represents the Crimson King's forces, one represents Roland and the Quartet and the Line of Eld and everything, but it's all done clandestine with corporations and stuff. My rationale is that, hey, this is the Tet Corporation making something, putting it out to the masses to undermine Sombra and the Crimson King. That's my new headcanon. That's why the movie sucks, because it's made by the Tet Corporation and a bunch of people, some old guys and some dental manufacturing moguls and stuff like that.
Nobody has any fucking idea what you're talking about now.
I know, right? So that's why I'm okay with.
I do.
That's why I can be okay with this.
Yeah.
That's my new headcanon.
My cat's breath smells like cat food.
I can't place that reference.
Ralph.
Fuck, yes, I knew that. Yes.
Nice.
I love it. Okay.
I just wasn't going to damage your levels by putting my voice at that pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's our review of The Dark Tower. The silver lining of this entire experience is that not only was the Rotten Tomatoes score after Tiny and I saw it, at a 19%, which 19 has mystical properties within the Dark Tower universe and Stephen King's work. Not only that, but the opening weekend box office was $19 million and change, which I like that as someone who was listening to the last book of the Dark Tower and finishing his reread of the Dark Tower and looked on his ceiling and saw an outline of the Dark Tower and lights. So anyway, that's our review of the Dark Tower. We'll have Fecus on for something to talk about it, and I'll be bitching about it more, and I'll edit this, and this will all be a nightmare. All right, so everything is meaningless and everything sucks. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that we didn't bogart the discussion too much with
yeah.
How dare you do all the talking on your own podcast? How dare you, sir?
Well, if people wanted to listen to more of you and they didn't feel like they didn't get their fill of your voice in this episode, where can they find the Geeking in Indiana podcast and your blog and everything?
My blog can be found at geekinginindiana.com. If you look on the side of the blog or on the bottom of the page, if you're on mobile, you will find a list of links, including the Indiana Geeking podcast, as well as a new shop link where you can find Indiana Geeking fidget spinners and pins.
Awesome.
That was well done.
Yeah. Oh, that was very nice.
That's college radio experience right there.
Very
Nice.
nice. Yeah. Also, as a final note, I really want to see more movies with you because you definitely bring out my you push me to be promoting things. So yeah.
That poor before we go to the young woman that was cleaning the theater at the AMC at Castleton, that was so into the discussion about the movie. That, we have people trying to go in and she hasn't gotten her job done yet because Matt's bogarting her time just as they're going on about the movie versus the book.
Yeah.
And then I just, as we're leaving, I go, and if you want to hear more of his thoughts, you can listen to his podcast.
And I felt so bad because she said that she also has a podcast that's on hiatus. I didn't think to ask what it was or anything. I felt really bad.
What?
So if you're
listening, reach out to this podcast. These are the two guys, Sunday, the 5:15 showing. One was trying to leave. The other one just kept talking to you. The guy that was trying to leave is the one talking right now. Okay.
Yes. And the guy talking right now is the guy who made you immediately regret asking how the movie was. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. Is there anything else that we need to say, or can we
cause a wheel? I hope it comes back around.
I hope so too.
I'd also like to point out that this discussion is probably longer than the film itself.
I think it is.
We are at 2 hours and 17 minutes of recording.
No way.
Yep. And then Tiny and I have an hour and a half of recording of us just bullshitting or doing our expectations. Yeah. Fecus is coming over tomorrow to record his thoughts as well. So
the entire month of September is going to be Dark Tower month on the Obsessive Viewer podcast.
Yeah.
Oh God. Anyway, So thank you guys for listening. Once again, buy your tickets to Shocktober in Irvington. Right now they're at SHOCKTOBERinIrvington.com. Tickets are on sale. The price is
very, very reasonable for the amount of entertainment you're going to be receiving that evening. Absolutely. In addition to all the prizes that are going to be given out, including movies, Funko Pops, gift cards for local businesses. Why am I doing your job for you? I give you the money, motherfucker. You're supposed to be doing this for me.
That is very true. Tickets are on sale now, $6 up until Labor Day weekend. After Labor Day, they will go up to $8. Buy them on SHOCKTOBERinIrvington.com. Special discount for listeners of the podcast. Type in podcast1 for a $1 discount on the tickets. Into the promo code on that, and then and there's also a spot for donations to the Irvington Historical Society. So go check that out. It's October 6th, 2017 at the Irving Theater. Okay, and can we stop talking? Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. I was at the Stump Geek up at Kokomo Toys last Friday, And I'm told, no, let the kids win. They got a ton of prizes to give away. Let the kids feel good. Someone comes in, has his kids walk up, and it's someone that knows Sean, the owner of Comics Cube, that's doing this with me.
Okay.
And Sean just looks at the kid, goes, no Star Wars questions. And Sean looks at me after kidding around with them and their dad for a few minutes, goes, wait a second. We have Tony here. Yes. Drop the Star Wars questions. Tony, answer them.
Nice.
And he had two kids come up and ask questions. The first one was like, what company makes the TIE fighters in Star Wars?
Jeez.
And I look at Sean and go, you want me to answer this? He's like, yes, please. I go, Cynar Systems.
Jesus.
Wow.
And the kid looks back at their dad. The kid doesn't know. And the dad's just like, yeah, that was it. And then the next kid comes up and they're like, well, you know what? You didn't know Tony was going to be here. Go ahead. Go grab a prize. The second kid comes up and goes, what is the make of the X-Wing fighters in The Force Awakens?
Oh, wow.
And kind of looks at me and I just look at him and go, it's a T-70. See,
wow.
Yeah, you're just looking at me like nerd.
Yeah.
One of my things is props, costumes, and building models.
Right. Yeah,
and so this stuff is on all the prop and model boxes.
Right.
but it's really good that you have like something that is like such a vast kind of thing that has like that franchise, like Star Wars, like that's massive and it has such a huge following and so much trivia and stuff. It's really nice that you guys all have that and that people have that in Star Trek and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, you know, things that have like really big, vast Twilight even that has really
In and
yep.
twist.
Yeah, no
Yep.
kidding. You dug deep for that one.
That they're adapted and they have all this merchandise and, you know, midnight screenings and it's so great. So great.
Still have the books, Matt.
We do. We have the books and the comics and the imagination stuff.
And remember, they've only it took them how many years to go between Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming to
That's
do a reboot.
true. And that
true.
was Sony also, and Sony is clearly fucking idiots.
I'm not here to give you false hope.
Oh, no.
I just want to give you some manner of hope.
No, there is no hope. The world is a barren wasteland of shittiness.
No, look. Remember what bad CGI Leia said. Hope.
Right. But did she look like a ragdoll, like the ragdoll physics from Goat Simulator? Hey guys, there's going to be more Dark Tower discussion and everything in the days to come on this podcast. I did record that aforementioned episode with Fecus, where we talked about the movie and about the studio side of it and kind of the actual failure of producing it and everything. I'm going to release that separately, and I will have a pine tree perfume from Mike to include on that. So be on the lookout for that in the next few days or so. I am kind of toying with an idea that I wanted to kind of get a read on our listeners to see what they think. Me and Tiny have been talking a lot about the Dark Tower in the previous months leading up to the movie on the podcast, and we've talked about it a lot over the last 7 years, just together. So I was just curious, just to kind of get a read on it. If you're listening to this, let us know what you think of this. But assuming that we could figure out the logistics of it, and assuming that I can get back on track with Anthology and all my other podcast stuff beforehand, how would you guys feel about Tiny and I doing an infrequently released Dark Tower podcast, specifically about the Dark Tower series, the books? We're kind of going through them part by part and having on, I don't know how the format will be, but maybe a rotating guests who maybe aren't familiar with the books and kind of discussing them I would think maybe monthly or maybe a little more frequent than that. I'm not sure. Just something that I'm kicking around. If you have any thoughts on that, let us know. Twitter, Facebook group, everything. I'll post this on the Facebook group as well. And yeah, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Thank you guys for listening, and long days and pleasant nights.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate, or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP, Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes, and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.